I'm a blogger, a Derek Bateman broadcaster, and also one of the editors of Newsnet, the website, which is one of the originals before we got anywhere near the IndieRef. There are issues around funding for the new media. It's difficult to get the right funding formula, and nobody's actually cracked that yet, I don't think. But there's no doubt that there is an effect, an influence which is being felt. I mean, I think even at the very level of contradicting and correcting a lot of stuff that's appearing in the mainstream, people now know they can find, correcting information in the alternative media. One of the criticisms made is that basically, it's not a new media because we don't have the resources to create new material, find news. I mean, to an extent that is already happening with Commonweal. But at the same time, to me, one of the reasons why we have the alternative media is to challenge the existing mainstream. I mean, in a way we do feed off that. But I think that's exactly why I started doing it, because I recognised there was a need for a different voice. Not necessarily mine, always, but certainly an alternative voice to what we're getting from the mainstream. That is there, it's there strongly now across all platforms. It's on radio, we do long-form interviews on radio, sometimes we film them. There is the News Shaft, who are doing a weekly roundup. You count in the kind of intellectual gravitas of Bella, you bring in Wings, and then the cold sort of envelope that CommonSpace can provide. And there is an alternative, there's no doubt it exists. It's growing organically, and it's being looked at from elsewhere, I mean notably in England. There's a kind of desire to find out, how did you guys do that and how can we replicate that? It's sustainable if you're providing the public with something that they want to consume. I mean, whether you can afford to do that seems to me a different parallel question. And I think that clearly subscription is the main way of doing that, along with crowdfunding. But you kind of feel that's got to be exhausted eventually. It does seem that there is a requirement for some type of central funding system that may be possible. You can keep. I don't think we're ever going to see all of the different groups, different outlets coalescing into one, and I think that would be a bad idea. The whole point is that it's different. There are different voices, different tone, different emphasis, and I think the idea of it being kind of just a bit wild and a bit organic is very attractive. But in terms of funding, it would be possible, I think, to have a kind of combined portal for access, which would be funded collectively with a distribution process based on financial need. I mean, for example, at Commonweal, they have a need for a lot more money than Newsnet does because they're directly employing staff, which is something that we're not doing. So you can easily work out, well not easily, but you can work out a system for funding that, I think. And it may eventually have to come to that. I think we haven't yet reached a stage where you get kind of shakedown, where we begin to lose different projects because they're not sustainable. That hasn't happened yet. I'm quite surprised. Everybody is, as far as I can see, still going. And more are springing up all the time and managing to sustain themselves. So as long as it continues in this kind of slightly ramshackle way, we'll have the media that we have now. But I think eventually, it seems to be it's a market. Hate to raise the word, but it is a market, and I think there is competition internally as well, and I think that will eventually lead to some people being lost by the wayside, and possibly, more of a collective funding model being devised. Well, I suppose like anything else, if you're not consuming it, it will disappear. I think that's a bit different from whether or not you're actually paying for it. I mean, I think, I will, with or without any funding, will continue. Just because I want to have my voice out there, while Scotland's still going through this prolonged process of trying to find out exactly what its constitutional future should be. So in that sense, I don't need to be funded, and most people, I think, or a lot of people don't need to be funded. But I think if you want to have quality, sustainability, if you want to bring in new talent to write, and especially if you're going to be paying proper wages, then you clearly need to have money coming in, and people have to understand that. But the point I'm making is, I think if you make it really easy on a regular basis to fund everything through a funding model, that is an attractive proposition for people whose instinct is to support, but they're not sure what they should support and how much they should be giving. So if you could tell them, £10 a month into this fund will help everybody because it will be distributed, I think that would be I think people would go with that. I think people would quite like that, and it would also help to sustain it.